Dairy products occupy a strange space in the uric acid conversation. Half the time they're promoted as protective, the other half they're cast as silent saboteurs. So, what's the deal? The truth is, dairy's effect on uric acid levels depends heavily on the type, the fat content, and what has been done to it in the factory. Not all dairy is created equal. Some of it may actually help lower uric acid, while other forms might quietly fan the flames of inflammation and metabolic dysfunction, setting the stage for accumulation and crystallized regret. Let's start with the good news. Low-fat dairy, things like skim milk, low-fat yogurt, and reduced-fat cottage cheese, has consistently been associated with lower serum uric acid levels. That's not a myth. It's backed by a decent stack of epidemiological and clinical studies.
Why?
Several mechanisms are at play. For one, dairy proteins like casein and lactalbumin appear to increase uric acid excretion by the kidneys. Additionally, low-fat dairy doesn't come loaded with the same inflammatory baggage that you find in meat or processed food, making it a relatively clean source of protein. In fact, regular consumption of low-fat milk products has been linked with a reduced risk of gout flares in those who are predisposed. But don't rush to chug a gallon of milk just yet, because here comes the less glamorous part. High-fat dairy, especially rich cheeses, cream, and full-fat milk, sits in murkier territory. While they don't directly contain purines, their saturated fat content can contribute to systemic inflammation and insulin resistance, two factors that mess with your body's ability to excrete uric acid efficiently. Inflammation affects kidney filtration. Insulin resistance alters uric acid handling. Add those together, and you've got a metabolic environment that starts quietly hoarding uric acid like a squirrel with a grudge. Processed cheese takes things even further. We're talking about those orange blocks of dairy product that come with a plastic sheen and a suspicious shelf life. These are often loaded with sodium, emulsifiers, and synthetic additives that only add stress to the kidneys while promoting inflammation. It's not just cheese, it's chemistry. And while you might not feel it immediately if your system is already teetering toward dysfunction, these processed items could tip you right into the gout zone. Then there's the overlooked issue of quantity and combination. A dollop of cream in your coffee isn't going to bring down your uric acid apocalypse. But if you're regularly consuming high-fat dairy along with other risk factors, like alcohol, red meat, sugary snacks, or poor hydration, your body ends up overwhelmed and the uric acid starts to accumulate. You're not eating cheese anymore, you're laying bricks for your own metabolic trap. There's also the issue of individual sensitivity. Some people with high uric acid levels or chronic kidney issues may not respond well even to moderate amounts of high-fat dairy. What seems harmless to one person might set off a cascade of dysfunction in another, particularly if your kidneys are already falling behind on their filtering duties. So, what's the verdict? Low-fat, unprocessed dairy can be part of a uric acid-conscious diet, possibly even beneficial. High-fat, heavily processed dairy? Approach with caution, especially if your kidneys are on thin ice or your joints have already had their first angry uric acid protest. Here's the real takeaway. Dairy is not your enemy, but it's definitely not neutral. It plays both sides. Choose the right kind, keep portions sane, and don't pretend a cheese board is a wellness ritual. Because for some, that creamy indulgence may be less about calcium and more about crisis. And if you're not careful, the only thing getting cultured won't be your yogurt. It'll be your swollen, throbbing toe, pleading for mercy.